Denisho.
All right, now I'm going to go through Denisho. You got to see Rinchi Galan just run through it. Now I'm going to explain it. Remember, Denisho means cutting or clawing through the fire. This is also a shoyu kata like Asadai. So we started with the hands here, the left hand's on top. You open the feet and hands. So by opening the feet, what I mean is we go from a heisukadachi or formal attention stance to a fudodachi or a formal attention stance with the toes apart. So when we do this, our left hand goes on top, you open the feet and hands, and then the hands face each other as you go into a hachidachi or get ready stance. So just kind of wanted to point that out. So Denisho, cutting or clawing through the fire. This is a kibadachi at a 45-degree angle. And then you do a block, and it looks a lot like Pinon 4. Then you step in and do an elbow and a back fist. Then we step back and do a palm block to the side, a chicken head strike, and then a snake hand. From here, we do a cross step. Left hand is doing a palm block. Right hand comes underneath with a palm strike to the groin. Then you step and do a hammer fist at a 45-degree angle and 2 vertical fists at that 45-degree angle. Now we step with the right foot, do a palm block this direction and a palm strike coming underneath. And again, doing a hammer fist at a 45-degree angle, and then a vertical fist and a vertical fist. Then we go into a crane stance, chain your hands on the left side, step down into the kiba as you do a palm block to the side, and then the chicken head here and the snake head here. Then we do the same thing the other direction. You go into a crane and chain her on the right side. Then you step down, do the palm block, chicken head, and the snake head. We step back with our left foot into a wide back stance. As we do, the right hand goes down, the left hand goes up like you were escaping from a front choke in beginner class. Then your left hand goes palm down as your right hand makes a bent wrist. Then you just leave this hand down here as you do the eagle strike. You kick with the right leg and return it where it was. Then we're going to chamber the right hand as we step into a leopard stance and do the punch. Reach underneath with a tiger claw and do a knife hand strike. Then chamber the hands here in a take katana. Do a backhand block. Single finger eye strike. Step back and do a left high block. Right high block. And then go forward with the left high block, again at 45-degree angle. Then you bring your right hand down. It looks like a knife hand strike coming down. And your left hand is palm up this time. So it's almost like you're catching your hand. So you're here, knife hand. And then from this position, we turn the palms out. We come around with the palms up. Put your left hand on top. Press down with breath and tension. Then you do a double O block. Right foot slides to the left. Again, the feet are apart. Hands are in, turn them out, do your double O block, bow, and that is the end of the kata Denisho. One thing before we go into the bunkai, let me explain a couple of these strikes. We have a few new strikes in this particular kata. One is called the snake hand. The best way to learn to do a snake hand is make a knuckle strike like this, and then stick out your hand just like this. So you'll see how the thumb and both fingers are all going parallel. So sometimes people, when they're trying to do this, they have the hand like this, or they clench it in too much. And it should be straight. Everything should be parallel, and then these two are wrapped in just like the throat strike normally would be. The next strike is called a chicken head. Now really, to learn this, you gotta learn a new position. The best way to illustrate this is make a fist. When you make a fist, you have at least 3 strikes you can do with this. You can hit with the first 2 knuckles, and we just call it a punch. You can hit with the back of the 2 knuckles, and we can call that a back fist. If you hit with the bottom of your fist, we call it a hammer fist. So by making one hand position, you have 3 different strikes. Well, the same is true with this position. You squeeze your fingers and your thumb all together, just like this. And if you hit with this top bone right here, we call that a chicken head. So you're coming in and striking this way. The nets, and then let me kind of just show it this way and kind of do it from a different angle, because it's just like you're taking this bone and hitting this way. That's called a chicken head. If you hit with the back of your hand, we call that a bent wrist. If you hit with the fingers, we call it a eagle strike. So like when you're poking at the eye, that is a eagle strike. So one hand position, you have 3 different strikes. The chicken head, the eagle strike, and the bent wrist. Sometimes you'll see people make this with only 3, the 2 fingers and the thumb. And again, you got your eagle strike, you got your chicken head, and you got your bent wrist. Either is okay, but those are some of the things I want to point out. Another new stance is called a, let me move back just a little bit, make sure you can see this. It's called a crane stance. You just put the back of your foot behind the knee. So if you kind of see this, you're putting the back of your foot behind the knee. Make sure to keep your standing leg bent. That's one of the keys to maintaining your balance. A lot of people tend to stay too straight, put the foot there, and then they lose their balance. Even though I noticed that when I did the kata just a moment ago, I lost my balance. But most of the time, if you just keep your knee bent and put your weight towards the front of your foot as you lift into the crane, you'll have very good balance. And it's actually a very strong stance, but that's a discussion for another day. Then there's also a leopard stance. Now the leopard stance is basically, think of making a forward fighting stance and then putting your knee 1 inch off the ground. So just to kind of demonstrate that from a different angle, it's like making a forward fighting stance and then putting your knee 1 inch off the ground. Okay, so one more time. I'm going to forward fighting stance, and then you just put your knee 1 inch off the ground. The key is keep your back straight. A lot of people want to lean over and such. We want to learn to be able to keep our back straight. So those are some of the new techniques and new positions that you need to become familiar with when you run this particular kata. Now we're going to go ahead and do the bunkai to the Ninsho. So Rinshi, go along. This is going to be my attacker. And from here, he's going to come in with a right punch. Oi. I block his punch. I step in and do an elbow to his chin and a back fist to his face. Now he's going to come around. Doesn't matter which direction you walk on that particular one. He's coming in with a left punch. Oi. I block his punch with my palm block. Then I do a chicken strike to his face and a snake head. And the idea of the snake head is I'm taking the 2 fingers and striking at the eye as the other hand is looking under the chin. So that's the snake hand. The net strike, he's straight in front of me and he's going to punch with his right hand. Oi, and I block his punch and I do a strike to his groin. Now he comes in with a left punch at a 45-degree angle and I do a hammer fist on top of his arm and 2 vertical fists right into the ribs. Now he's doing a left punch, oi, and I do a palm block, palm strike. Now he does a right punch, oi, and I do a hammer fist, 2 vertical fists. Now he's going to walk over there and he's going to do a left kick at my knee and a left punch at my face. Oi, I avoid the kick by going to the crane stance. Then I block his punch and do the chicken head, snake head. So you can see it on the other side. He does the mirror image, right kick, right punch, oi. I avoid the kick, block the punch, chicken head, snake head. Now he comes in and grabs me in the front choke, and just remember the escape you learned in the beginner class. I strike up and down, but then as the bent wrist comes back, I strike him in the groin, which causes him to bend forward a little more, so then I hit him under the chin, which makes his head go back, and then you do an eagle strike right into the eye. Then I kick him, and then as he's bending over, I punch at the groin, strike at the groin, knife him, and hopefully he's done. All right? The next attacker coming in with a right punch, oi, and you block it with a backhand, grab his head and pull him into that single finger eye strike. I forgot to talk about that. I'll explain that one. The new attacker comes in with a right overhead clubbing attack, oi, and I block it as I step to the side. Now he does a left punch at me and I block it. He does a right punch at me and I block it. I step in and he grabs me in a choke. This hand goes under and grabs his hand. This hand goes over and strikes his arm. I want to ideally hit that radial nerve. And then I grab his hand. So you see I'm holding his hand like wrist lock number 2. And I hold this like wrist lock number 2. And as I turn his left hand, I'm causing him to turn around. Then this hand, I keep my thumb right in the place, flip it over so I've got him in a double wrist lock, and then I push him away. So that's this movement in the kata. And then from here, we just end the kata. Let me go ahead and demonstrate that ending movement a little bit more so you can see it. So he comes and grabs me in a front choke. So this hand is underneath this arm. And the way that happened was I blocked his punch, and then when I stepped up and dropped my arm, he then grabbed me in a choke, and it's already there. This hand is grabbing his hand. I strike, grab his hand, lift it. I turn him around with this one. Then I keep my thumb right there as I flip my hand around. So now I've got him in a double wrist lock. And then from here, I'm just cranking on it. And that's the end of the kata. So one more time from a different angle so that you can see this. Because this is probably the part everybody has trouble with when they're learning this particular bunkai. So he grabs me in a choke. This hand is here. This arm is under his arm. And you see how I'm grabbing this just like as if I was trying to do wrist lock number 2. And then I strike, grab this hand just like wrist lock number 2. And then I lift this one though so that I can turn him around with this one. Then this hand, see how my thumb stays right there as it flips around and grabs his hand. So it's got to be done very quickly as I'm releasing and re-grabbing. And now you just continue to crank and pull the hands in. That's what this movement is in the kata. And then you're just cranking them down, okay? And so that's that movement. The other thing I said I would explain is the single finger eye strike. The biggest thing to notice about this, think of making the throat strike again and then stick one finger out. Sometimes when people try to make the single finger eye strike, they commonly make a fist and stick out the finger, but you don't want to do that because the finger is very weak, leaned out like that. You want those knuckles underneath because when you push those two knuckles together, you have a much stronger hold because they're supporting each other with the finger and the finger together, okay? So you don't just stick out the finger like this. Make sure you put that knuckle underneath. You can also learn what's called a two-finger eye strike, and you kind of do the same thing. Now here, the finger ends up being weaker by itself, but they are separated, and you are supporting it with this one. See how that one kind of locks in there? And that way, if I ever want to strike with two fingers this way, that's how we do that. Notice how the thumb, again, stays to the side. So those are some just little details as you're practicing at home, as we're trying to fix things and make it as doing the best we can. That's some of the things I want you to focus on. All right, we'll see you in class soon. We're going to bow to each other. And now we're going to bow to you. Have a great day.